I found it at a dusty old flea market, tucked away in a cardboard box overflowing with forgotten treasures, an old Polaroid camera, the classic kind with the rainbow stripe down the front. It felt heavy in my hands, a solid piece of history. The guy selling it practically gave it to me, said it probably didn't even work, but I had a feeling. I bought a pack of film online. Surprisingly, they still make it, and waited. When the film arrived, I was buzzing with excitement. I loaded it carefully, the mechanics clicking in worry, just like I remembered from when I was a kid. For my first picture, I decided to just test it out on something simple. I stood in the doorway of my living room. It was empty. Just the sofa, the coffee table, the lamp, the afternoon sun slanting through the blinds. Everything was exactly as it should be. I raised the camera, focused on the empty space, and pressed the shutter button. The camera whirred and spat out the film square. That iconic, satisfying sound. I held it in my hand, watching the milky white surface begin to resolve. It's a magical process, isn't it? Watching an image emerge from nothing. I gave it a little shake, an old habit that everyone says you're not supposed to do. The colors started to bloom, the browns of my sofa, the beige of the walls. The familiar shapes of my living room slowly came into focus. But as the image sharpened, my smile faded. My heart started to beat a little faster. There was the sofa, there was the lamp, and there, standing in the far corner of the room, partially obscured by shadow, was a figure. It was tall and unnervingly thin. I couldn't make out any features, just a dark humanoid shape where there should have been nothing but an empty corner. My blood ran cold. I dropped the photo on the coffee table as if it had burned me. I spun around, staring into the corner of the room. It was empty, completely, undeniably empty. My rational mind screamed at me, it's a trick of the light, a chemical flaw in the old film, a double exposure. There had to be a logical explanation. There just had to be. I paced the room for what felt like an hour, my mind racing. I kept glancing from the photo to the corner, from the corner back to the photo. The figure in the picture didn't move, of course. It just stood there, a silent, static observer in a room that was supposed to be empty. A room that was empty. I checked the windows, the doors, everything was locked. I was completely alone in the house. So, what do you do in a situation like that? You try to prove yourself wrong. You try to debunk it. That's what a sane person would do. So, with my hands trembling, I picked up the camera again. I decided to take another picture. Same spot, same angle. I stood in the exact same place in the doorway, aimed the lens at the exact same empty corner, and held my breath. Click, where the second photo slid out. I didn't shake this one. I placed it gently on the table next to the first one, my eyes glued to it. I felt sick to my stomach as the chemicals began to work their magic. Again, the familiar shapes of my living room started to appear. The sofa, the lamp, and the corner. As the second image developed, the dread in my chest tightened into a knot of pure ice. The figure was there again, but this time it wasn't just standing in the corner. It was closer, it had moved. It was now standing beside the armchair, halfway across the room. Its shape was a little clearer, a gaunt silhouette that seemed to absorb the light around it, and it felt like it was looking right at me, right through the lens. I backed away from the table, my breath catching in my throat. 2 photos, taken moments apart, of an empty room. And in each one, this impossible presence that was moving, getting closer. I couldn't explain it. It defied all logic. It was like the camera was seeing something that I couldn't. A different layer of reality superimposed on my own. I grabbed my phone to call someone, anyone, but my hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock it. Who would I even call? What would I say? Hey, I think my house is haunted and I have photographic evidence from a cursed Polaroid. They'd think I was crazy. Maybe I was. Maybe this was some kind of waking nightmare. I looked at the 2 photos lying side by side. In one, the figure was in the corner. In the next, it was by the chair. It was a sequence, a progression. It was moving toward the camera, toward me. An overwhelming primal urge to take a third photo washed over me. I had to know. I had to see where it was now. It was a terrible, awful idea, but the compulsion was stronger than my fear. I picked up the camera for the 3rd time. My heart was a drum against my ribs. My gaze was locked on the empty space right in front of the coffee table, just a few feet from where I was standing. That's where it would be next, right? Following its logical path across the room, I raised the Polaroid, my finger hovering over the button. The viewfinder seemed to darken as I aimed it. Click, whir. The 3rd photo ejected. It felt like an eternity as it landed on the table. My eyes were burning. I hadn't blinked. I watched the gray-white square, my whole world shrinking down to that little piece of film. Slowly, ever so slowly, the image began to resolve. The grain of the rug, the wooden legs at the coffee table, and then the figure. It wasn't by the coffee table. It wasn't anywhere in the room. The photo showed my living room, exactly as I saw it with my own eyes. Empty, a wave of relief, so powerful it almost made me dizzy, washed over me. It was over. It was a fluke, a weird, terrifying chemical anomaly. I let out a shaky laugh, the sound hollow in the silent house. I picked up the third photo to look at it more closely, to reassure myself. The room was empty. The sofa, the table, the lamp, it was all normal. And then I saw it. The detail that made my soul freeze solid. On the surface of the coffee table in the photograph, you could see the faint reflections of the room. And in that reflection, right behind where I would have been standing to take the picture, was the dark, slender silhouette. It wasn't in the room anymore. It was standing right behind me. I dropped the camera. It shattered on the floor. I didn't turn around. I didn't dare. I just ran. I sprinted out the door, didn't stop to lock it, didn't grab my keys or my wallet. I just ran down the street, gasping for air. The image from that last photo burned into my mind. I've never been back to that house. I left everything behind. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still see it. That final photograph, that reflection, and I know, with a certainty that chills me to the bone, that some things are not meant to be seen, and some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Thanks for sticking with me through that story. I still get chills just thinking about it. If you have any creepy photo stories of your own, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and subscribe for more strange tales. Stay safe out there.